everything has shifted. And in my case, that major medical was a turning point. It was a catalyst. It forced a shift in my relationship with success and what I needed to understand and to adjust in order to be successful. So it might surprise you watching now to discover that during that period of time of major medical, I was about 55 pounds heavier. My hair fell out. My skin turned gray. One day I looked in the mirror and my eyes had actually changed to a different color. And over the course of 3.5 years of going chronically misdiagnosed and having literal memory lapses where I couldn't recall my only brother's name, I felt overwhelmed and helpless and hopeless and full of despair. Kind of like I think a lot of people are feeling right now. And maybe that's why you're here tonight. And what I discovered during that period of time was it was probably the first time I was forced to confront that model, that definition I had about success, about yes and more, was no longer sustainable. I mean, I literally could no longer execute that formula that had made me successful in the past. I didn't have the energy. And some of you might be looking out across 2021 and having an aspiration of some kind and starting to wonder, is it possible to get there amidst, when we look around and sometimes feel ourselves that sense of hopelessness and despair and maybe even being alone.
Mm. But you found your way through it. You found your way through this health crisis. And I really appreciate this story. I think it's something that we can all relate to. I mean, it feels like we're all in the middle of a health crisis, right? The good news is that you found your way out, and that's what we're going to find tonight as we look to 2021. But say more about what it is that you discovered about how yes and more wasn't a recipe for success, and what you discovered on the other side of that experience.
What I discovered on the other side was a different formula, and it goes like this. I talk about it in Success with Less, but that formula was something very different. And what I discovered during that period of time when I couldn't do more, and I was literally forced to do less, like some of you might be feeling right now, was that the only path forward was to get really crystal clear about what mattered most. And along the way, what I discovered was, success and being successful isn't about having all the answers. A big piece of it is about asking some different questions. And one of the questions that I asked myself during that period of time that became a turning point and I still carry forward is, if I can only succeed at one thing, or if I can only accomplish one goal and do it well, what would it be? Now, of course, logically at that period of time, my answer was I wanted to get healthy. I wanted to be well enough to enjoy my life. And so my formula became pause, ponder, prioritize. And what I really thought about doing during that period of time was using that as an opportunity, not to select 50 goals, not to try to get well and, write 4 books and do a triathlon, all of which are worthwhile and noble goals. It was if I could just do one thing, if I could just achieve one thing, that's what success would mean to me. And if I could define what success meant to me, I could use that ponder and prioritize time to think about how to take that goal that even with just one goal felt a little bit overwhelming, and break it down into the smallest possible steps I could take to move forward, even from a place where, I felt tired and overwhelmed.